I'm proud to introduce you guys to the next Garagefathers project. This is Stumpy, our 55 F-250. It had sat in a cornfield for decades before we rescued it. And to be honest with you, I started working on it right away. My dad even came over. He'd get out of his wheelchair. He was excited to help me on it. We did a bunch of work to it, getting it ready to where it's almost ready to start. And then my dad passed away. And to be honest with you, since that point, I haven't touched the truck other than to move it down here to Garagefathers. In fact, I haven't done much wrenching on anything, but Tommy's been a good influence. He's got me wrenching again, and he's got me to commit that this is the next project vehicle. So in the coming weeks, you're gonna see features on this vehicle. We're gonna do a video or maybe even a whole series on what to do when you get something out of the field and how to get it onto the streets.
You saw the video. Now, Kenny is away for a few days, so guess what we're gonna do? That's right, we're gonna get this running for him. So the challenge is on. It's been 43 years since this truck has run. And so we are going to go through all the steps that are necessary to get a vehicle up and running when it's been sitting for a long time. And we are gonna show you guys what to do. So let's go to work. Okay, the battery is on a charger, so we've got plenty of cranking power, and we've done an oil change to this truck, so that's something that's very important on a first-time startup after a long time. Oil change is done, so let's go over and see if we have spark and fuel. Now, I know that this carburetor has been rebuilt, and points and condenser were put into the distributor. They didn't do anything with fuel, that's for sure. Here is the hot wire jumper. So I have the more modern version of that. Okay, we've done a couple of things to prepare. So we have put some lubricant in the cylinders. Now you can use Marvel Mystery Oil, you can use diesel, you can use WD-40, anything to give it a little lubrication. I think Kenny did that, but we're gonna just be sure, and that has been done. We also have our IV, a temporary gas tank set up that we will hook up here, and then we're gonna be testing for fuel and spark, and we'll see what we're missing. Now, it has been said that a couple of people have looked at this truck with Kenny, and the consensus was that we have a bad ground at the distributor. So I'm going to replace a wire, and then we'll go from there, see what we're missing. Okay, one thing we're going to do is put on a new fuel filter so that we make sure we don't get any garbage from our fuel pump. No telling what condition it's in. So this is going on. We will replace hose clamps later, but for now, we'll just put this on here and protect our carburetor. Okay, I replaced this wire, so let's give it a crank and see if that may have solved our problem. So we are getting ready to spin this thing over. I have a few goodies here that are going to help. This will help me check for a spark. This is a very inexpensive little tool. I think it was a Grand Auto Special. Will go in line in the spark plug wire, and I can see if I'm getting a spark. I'll put this on spark plug number 1 or cylinder 1. We have our jumper wire here. Now this truck, the ignition switch is gone in it, and it has been for years and years. And so I'm going to use this as our ignition wire. We wouldn't want to use the truck switch anyway, because look at this crusty wire. That is missing a lot of its housing. The other thing that we have here is this little gadget, which you guys know what this is. This is my starter button, and I'm going to put this right here at the solenoid and crank this thing over so I can see what we have. All right, so let's see what we got. One on the positive battery terminal, which is what that is, and one over here. Okay, we got starter. Now let's get this guy in here before I get excited. So all I'm doing is pulling the spark plug wire on number 1 cylinder, and I'm going to put this in line, plugs into the wire, and put that over the boot, maybe. Okay, so now my hot wire, this is going to run from the positive side of the coil over to power. All right, so let's see if we have spark. Okay, nothing is touching here, and let's see if we see a light. I do not see any spark. What that means is the previous diagnosis is right. Now, this distributor does have new points and condenser in it, so I'm not even going to mess with that distributor. I have another one, and so I'm going to put another distributor in it. It's got an electronic ignition box in it, and so let's install that first and see if we get our spark. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. All right, we'll find our other distributor and I'll be right back. Okay, now, if I trusted that the distributor was placed right, I could have taken note of where the rotor was and put the new one back in just like it is. But some of you guys are going to be having engines that don't have a distributor or it's not in right. So for the younger generation, I'm going to show you guys how to put a distributor in and get it started in the right place. So on every engine that I know of, you just line up which spark plug wire is meant to be hot when the rotor is facing that way, when the motor is on top dead center, which means that most generally it'll be cylinder number 1. The cylinder will be all the way up and ready to fire. So you're just lining it up to where it would normally be in the running rotation of an engine. So I'm going to pull off our little tool down here, and I'm going to pull out spark plug number 1, and we're going to find top dead center. The other thing that I did while you guys weren't watching is I took our rusty old balancer and I marked it with white paint on the notch that indicates on the balancer top dead center. So that's what I did on this. On this truck, it's the pulley, but anyway, so I'm going to bump this over until I feel air come out of this cylinder, which means it's on the compression cycle. And then I'm going to line up my mark on the pulley down there, or balancer, with the arrow indicator, and that will be top dead center. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, I have my starter, my remote starter hooked back up. By the way, I didn't tell you guys earlier, but all you're doing is hooking one side to power and the other side on a Ford solenoid, it has an S for start. So the other day Kenny was out here trying all different combinations and he couldn't get it. So it's just super simple, it's marked. So if you guys are looking for that on a solenoid, it's just going to be power. You're powering the start side of the solenoid, by the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump this over really slow with my thumb over this hole. I will feel it probably suck air in, so I don't put my thumb completely over the hole, although I don't think it would really hurt me. But I'll have it part way over, and then I'm waiting to find out when this cylinder pushes air out. So that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I think that was it, but I'm going to go back around and make sure. Right there we were. So now, if you look down here, you can see this mark, I think. If not, you guys come around to this side. See this mark right down here? There's two little white dots on this pulley, and this is our pointer. So now, if I don't get in your guys' way, I'm going to try and roll this back until those white dots are lined up with that mark. There, you guys see that? Right there. Little pointer here on this truck. All vehicles are different, but this truck has a little pointer here, an indicator. And here's our two little white marks. These are recessed, by the way, on the pulley. You will always find a recessed line that is top dead center. So now I can put my distributor in, and as long as I point it at spark plug wire number 1, that's going to be lined up close enough that it should pop. So here's our donor distributor. This is pretty cool. It's got a Pertronix electronic ignition box in it, and I'm quite sure this works. So we're going to try it out and see if this will give us the spark that we need. Now we've got the engine sitting on top dead center. So over at the cap here, you can see that I have made a mark. This is my cylinder number 1 wire, if I trace it back. So this is where I want this rotor right here to point. I want it to point at this wire when it's sitting in the engine. When we accomplish that, then this distributor is in the right place to fire correctly. So I'm going to drop this distributor in. That's in. It's in the right spot, I guess. This is number 1. There's the rotor pointing there. And let's see, if I advance this, which I haven't gotten to that part of this whole deal yet, but if I advance this, distributor turns counterclockwise, so I want to turn the distributor clockwise to advance it. So yeah, that should be right. I'm going to get this just tight enough that I can move this distributor around, but that it moves stiff. A little bit more. So this electronic box, you know, it's going to be black on negative on the coil and red on the positive terminal. And so the negative doesn't change, but we have a positive lead that will excite that Pertronix box. Incidentally, this truck has been converted over to 12 volt. If it wasn't, then I would need to reduce the voltage here, but that is a 12 volt Pertronix box, and my wrench is over there. So this is a 12 volt distributor, and so I don't think we need to reduce the voltage at all. We'll find out, right? Okay, I'm happy with that. All right, distributor's in. It's time to put the spark plug back in. Then I'm going to put the little device on there to check for a spark. I will hook up our starter button and we'll see if we have a spark. We should. So let's see what happens. Okay, nothing's touching. Let's see if we get a spark. Let's see, I need my jumper too. Almost forgot. Okay, nothing touching. Let's see what we get. No spark still. Why not? Let's see if this guy's... That's the problem. Now let's see if we get a spark. Look at that spark. All right, we have spark. Kind of thought we would. So that's been a lot of cranking, and I don't see any fuel action yet. So let's take loose the fuel line and see if our fuel pump is pushing fuel out the line. Fuel line is disconnected. I see no evidence of gasoline, but let's give it another little bit and see if we get something. Fuel pump should pump it out really fast. Nothing. So here's my guess, and this is purely a guess. I would bet this truck was probably parked 40 years ago for a fuel pump. Maybe. It's just a guess. Fuel pumps the diaphragm can rot over 40 years, so it's not a sure thing, but You know, usually somebody parks something for a reason, and so far that's my best guess. So, time to call Napa and get a fuel pump. Now, here is a Napa special. I have used a little bit of this Permatex thread seal on these, sparingly, and I've used a little bit of blue silicone over here. Now, no haters, man, everybody does it different. I will say this though, some people don't use Permatex here. If you do, you just want to use just a little. You don't want to use a lot. You do not want gasket maker in your fuel or in your oil. So I've just went very sparingly. So I'm going to attempt to put this in. If you find that you're having a hard time getting this in because of the cam, then just rotate the engine over until the cam is in a different place. So hopefully we will be able to put this in where it is. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, that should be okay. By the way, make sure you get the inlet and outlet in the right spot. The old fuel pump had the inlet on the right, so I just figured it would be on the right again. And after I got them all installed and read it, I was incorrect. So they reversed sides on me. One new fuel pump going in. This fuel pump, the old one, is suspicious. It was awfully clean. When I took it off, I didn't hardly have to clean the gasket seat at all, which is really weird. Gasket was pretty hard, but still, I feel like somebody's been here, but I mean, why would they put the old pump back? And it obviously wasn't working. You guys will definitely see the difference with the new pump, unless for some reason fuel line's clogged or something, but I can't imagine that's the case. So with the silicone, I'm only going to put this on just a little bit tight and let it squeeze out and fill all the little holes and imperfections, and wipe some of this off on the exterior so it makes a clean install. Don't like a dirty install even on this old motor, that it doesn't really matter too much. Whatever is done is going to be clean. Okay, so we have this guy. Again, I say on the opposite side of this fuel pump, but that's okay. I can deal. I'm going to keep this a little ways away from this exhaust as I bolt it up, I hope. Hopefully. Okay, there's that. Now, our fuel cell, back down here. All right, and tighten this guy up. Okay, new fuel pump on. So now let's take this loose and see if it pumps gas. Let's see if we have gas. My belief is that we should. Since we have a Pertronix ignition box in this, I am going to put a high energy coil on it. They usually go hand in hand. And so before we try to fire this, put a different coil on it and get that in place. And then I think this thing's gonna fire. I don't know, but man, if it does, that'll make Kenny really happy. All right, we've got the flamethrower now, so this should be more than adequate spark, and we now have fuel, so you know what that means. All right, well, let's see. This could be fire in the hole. So here we go. Let's see if we get anything out of this. All right, let's try to add a little bit of Starbucks Frappuccino gasoline prime. See if I can get a little bit into the float. Now let's see. We have running. All right, cool. That's awesome. We got to figure out what exactly is going on with it here, why it's idling so fast, get the timing set, and we are going to have a happy Kenny Munyon. Let's do a few adjustments really quick. I guess it runs. That was really exciting. I didn't expect it to idle nearly that fast. Turns out the throttle linkage on the carburetor was stuck pretty high. So I got that adjusted and working, and let's try it again. It should idle. This truck does not have an oil gauge or a temperature gauge, so we're going to be very careful. I want to make sure I don't hear excessive tapping or valve noise. And let's see if it'll start up and idle. Man, that sounds really good for 43 years. Hardly any smoke. I mean, almost nothing. So that's amazing. This truck is running super clean. I'm sure a little bit came out initially when the WD-40 was coming out of these cylinders, but certainly nothing here now, so it's great. It's running clean. So we are going to have a very happy Kenny. When he comes back, which is just in a minute or two for you guys, we're going to surprise him, and he's going to be super thrilled that he has a running truck. He's been trying to, or wanting this thing running for 3 years, and reluctant to work on it because of the passing of his father. And so, man, this is really special, you guys. I can't tell you how cool this is. So I'm going to do some adjustments to it, make sure that it's not overheating, put a thermostat in it, and maybe put in an oil gauge, although it sounds pretty quiet, and just make sure that it's safe, and we're going to surprise him. So check it out. Hey guys, okay, today is the day that Kenny is back. He's due back any minute now. I am going to prime and start this thing up so that when he hits the button, it fires right off. Now we're going to prank him. I'm going to tell him that the motor seems to be locking up, and that I want him to check it out and see. So that'll be a fun little prank that we're going to do on him. So let me prime this and hook this wire up and start it so that it'll fire right up when he gets it. All right, hopefully runs. Okay, cool. It is running now, so he will be here anytime. I'm going to let it run for just a minute or two, and it'll be ready to fire up when he is. Okay guys, Kenny is here. Now, I'm gonna have my photographer hide behind this truck, and he's gonna come out of here in just a second. I'm gonna go hot wire it, and then I'm gonna tell him that the engine is locked up. So let's see what happens, okay? Hey dude, what's up?
Hey, what's happening, man?
I'm sorry about the bad news, brother.
It's like hard to believe, man. It's not that I don't believe you. It's just that.
Remember how it just didn't sound quite right, and the battery was on and off, and you know, it would start and then it wouldn't. I mean,
No,
you know, turn over, wouldn't turn over.
I know, but like,
Just go push the button. And
I got that feeling, you know, like, that feeling.
push the button and see what you hear. Okay.
I bet it's in the terminals or something.
No, battery's good, terminals are good. That I can assure you. I know for a fact those are good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude! Dude, what's new?
How's it sound? Dude, it sounds great, right? It didn't even smoke, dude, when we started it. Didn't even smoke. Really? Nothing. Dude, it's been dead for like 40 years, right? Hey, dude, you should be filming. Sure, you should let me know if you're gonna film something. Nope. Thanks, man. Yeah, dude, that means a lot, dude. Awesome, right? You know, the whole thing with my dad. Thanks for doing that, man. I told you this was gonna be good. When I get that feeling, I'm never wrong, like 10% of the time. You are absolutely right. So now, the list got longer now. Brakes. What else? Yeah, tires. No, let's go drive it right now. We don't need brakes. Wow. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Wow. We will catch you next time on the Garagefathers. Like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Yeah. And don't miss our next show, right? Yeah. See you next time. Sneaky little jerk.